What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Purple and Gold podcast. And today we are coming here with a Minnesota Vikings mock draft. Now, obviously, this is my favorite team, so I waited a little while to get this mock draft started. Haven't made a huge splash in free agency, but that is to blame for Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer, who left the new regime in a pretty bad spot to start off with. But I remain optimistic because I think the players that the Vikings have recently brought in, despite the cap space that they were dealt with, starting off with -15, I think they've done quite a great job. Obviously, there are still some needs that need to be filled, but there's still time to sign players, and we still have the draft to look forward to. So I'm really excited to see what this Vikings team does. Obviously, Kirk Cousins get the extension, so he's going to be the quarterback for this year. Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison, Kenan Nwangu, very, very good A plus running back room in my opinion. Jefferson is becoming one of the best receivers in the league. Thielen's going to come back off of an ankle injury. He's been a red zone touchdown machine. KJ Osborne had a nice breakout year last season. Irv Smith is going to be coming back from his injury, so I think he's going to take over as tight end one. Tyler Conklin signing with the New York Jets. CJ Ham, I think, is one of the most underrated fullbacks in the game. And then, actually, if you take a look at the two tackles, despite the Vikings having a reputation for having a pretty mediocre offensive line for the past few years, Darisaw and O'Neal are going to be the future, the pillars on the outside. Those two guys have been quite solid so far. Darisaw, we haven't seen a full season of him yet, but when he was on the field, the difference was significant. In comparison to when Rashad Hill was on the field playing tackle for the team. Ezra Cleveland has also been solid at left guard. It's the center and right guard position that need to be figured out. Oli Udo, too many holding penalties this past season. Too many number 74s called by the referees. And Garrett Bradbury, I mean, his game speaks for itself. He just continuously gets pushed back, which can't be happening for an offensive lineman. Taking a look at the defense, now this is a team that's going to transition to a 3-4 under new defensive coordinator Ed Donatel. So he worked under Vic Fangio when he was in Denver. They ran a 3-4, so the same thing's going to be here. It's going to be pretty multiple. But Danielle Hunter comes back, and that's why I'm wearing the jersey today. He officially is back with the Minnesota Vikings despite all the trade rumors that were surrounding him. Michael Pierce is no longer in the team, so ESPN hasn't really updated this. So basically, the team did sign Harrison Phillips from the Buffalo Bills, and Dalvin Tomlinson will be his right-hand man. Armand Watts, if you don't know him, had a fantastic 2021 campaign. If you don't know the name, get to know it. PFF loves him as well. Highly productive, just not a guy that a lot of people know about. DJ Wanham was productive at the end of last season, but I don't expect him to roll out as the opposite end of Danielle Hunter starting this season, just because I just don't think that he's worth being a starter yet. I think he's a phenomenal rotational guy, though, in certain situations when you need fresh legs on the field. Again, not updated, but Jordan Hicks is here. He's going to be playing alongside Eric Kendricks. I love the duo. Jordan Hicks is just a tackling machine. He's a very smart guy, was a former captain on the Arizona Cardinals, so I love the pickup there. And then our other linebacker, you're not going to see three inside linebackers on the field in a 3-4 set. But I guess the next guy up would, in my opinion, be Blake Lynch, who I think has a ton of upside. Former undrafted free agent out of Baylor. And then take a look at the cornerback position. Again, not updated, but as of right now, it's Cam Dantzler, Harrison Hand, and Chris Boyd as the starting three. So, yeah, we need a cornerback. And I would love the team to bring back Patrick Peterson. Obviously, not for a ton of money because he's not a top tier corner anymore, but he is solid. He is solid still, playing at a pretty decent level for his age, and he just brings a lot of leadership and he teaches the guys, the young guys, how it's done. So I'd love to have him back on the team, but we'll see what they do. And then Harrison Smith and Cameron Bynum are the two starting safeties on this team. And then Greg Joseph and Jordan Berry were retained. So without further ado, I've done enough talking. Let's get straight into this mock draft right here. Vikings are going to be picking at number 12 here. What do we want to do here? We'll see. And also, I'm not going to be trading back just to keep it realistic because we do have the ability to trade, but I don't want to fleece the computer, too badly. So, okay. We have an interesting situation here where McDuffie and Booth are still here, and we just made it very clear that we still need a corner. But I also made it clear that I don't think there is a second solid edge rusher opposite end of Daniil Hunter. So I'm going to take Jermaine Johnson here. This is a case of the best player available and also filling a need at the same time. So this is an ideal situation for the Minnesota Vikings. I love David Ojabo too, but he just got hurt at his pro day, and doctors are estimating that it's going to take 6 months to return. So I don't know how I feel about that. That's obviously gonna hurt his draft stock. Um, do I think it's gonna hurt him in the future? I don't think so. I think he's still gonna be a highly productive player. But if you can get a guy who is just as productive and just as dominant when you look at the film in Jermaine Johnson, I'm gonna take him. And I do have him as my number 3 edge rusher this year. Had a phenomenal offseason so far at the combine and at the Senior Bowl. So I already liked Jermaine Johnson before that, but his stock is only raising, and it's highly possible that the top 9 picks in this draft could be all tackles and edge rushers. I wouldn't be surprised. Um, but yeah, if the Vikings can get Jermaine Johnson at number 12, that is a no brainer right there. Okay, so let's see what we have left here. I really like Jalen Petre out of Baylor. The offensive line is definitely a huge point of emphasis here, and so is cornerback. But look, the offensive line has been bad for a very long time, and I just feel like the big names in free agency, in terms of the interior of the offensive line, which includes guard and center, most of those guys are out. I still want the team to sign J.C. Treader, but looking at the money situation, I just don't really see it happening. Um, this team needs to figure out the solution for the offensive line. So I'm gonna address that immediately. I'm gonna take Tyler Smith out of Tulsa to play guard for this team. Roger McCreary is a guy that I really like. I have him listed as a first round talent. Um, I don't know if he falls that much. It's quite possible, but like I said, offensive line has been an issue for so damn long. I can't watch another season of this with them accepting the fact that we can just try and win with how poorly the interior of the line has played in recent years. And I believe this is going to be our last pick of the draft right here. Do we go out and get a corner? You don't want to just take a guy just to take him, which is why I am not going to take it here. Now, look, I'm not I'm not going to try and cover up and BS this whole thing and act like I just like these corners all of a sudden. I'm not very high on Cameron Dantzler. I think you keep him around and you have to give him an opportunity because the guy is still young, and you watch the film back at Mississippi State, he was highly productive and he's shown flashes in the league. It's definitely been rough this past season, but I still think that there is an opportunity for him to succeed. Um, you look at Harrison Hand, he doesn't get a ton of time on the field, but when he is on the field, positive things are happening in his game, and he just doesn't really get the light of day. So I don't know. That's a guy where I think if he gets more opportunity, I think he could end up being, a starter, or at least a rotational piece for this team. I like Harrison Hand. And Chris Boyd, I think, plays with a lot of swagger. He plays with a lot of aggressiveness. Yeah, he's not great. Um, but I don't know. Like, I would much rather have him than like Bashad Breeland on the field. You know what I mean? He was much better as a cornerback last year, in my opinion. I kind of like the way that he plays his game. So I don't know. Obviously, you want to bring in another corner for this team, but I don't want to just take a corner for the sake of taking a corner when there's not really a guy who's worth it at our pick, if that makes a ton of sense. So, what are we going to do here now? Now, I think this is a spot where the Vikings could potentially take a tight end. Like Trey McBride is a captain at Colorado State, was one of the most productive weapons on a very, very bad Colorado State team, but he is a bright spot on that team. And the Vikings still need another tight end. I know they just signed Johnny Munt, who was a third string, maybe even a fourth string tight end on the Rams, but they need another guy because I think they lost 3 out of the 4 tight ends that were originally on the roster last year. I actually like Jalen Wydemeyer a lot more actually, and there is a lot of tight ends right here, so this could potentially be a spot where like just a ton of tight ends go, maybe third, fourth round. I'm gonna take Weidemeyer here. He's gonna be a very popular pick for me here in the middle rounds, in these mock drafts. I just think he's a good depth piece. And the thing is too, if Irv Smith doesn't work out this season, you have a backup plan for next season at who's gonna be starter because I love Jalen Weidemeyer. Again, another guy who's highly productive. He was more productive, um, than the Colorado State tight end. So I don't know. I like what he brings to the table. He's more athletic. He has more speed. He is my number one tight end this year, in this year's draft. But if the Vikings can go out and get really two, potentially three starters, I mean, this is a banger of a draft, if you ask me. I'm really happy the way that this turned out. Now, it's possible that a guy like Jermaine Johnson and none of the corners are there when the Vikings are there. So would I be surprised if they trade back? Not at all. And I'd honestly be for it. But this is the way that it went for us, and everything kind of just fell in our lap. I really like the way that things went. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Um, Skol Vikings. See you guys later.